I'm just going to show you how to make the color wheel using some of the tools inside of Illustrator. So we're going to get right to it. I've already downloaded a template that I'm going to use that has some basic fundamental knowledge about primary color theory, and we're going to go ahead and open up Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to create a new file. I want to do this in a tabloid size sheet. So you can go to print, find tabloid. If we change it to inches, you'll see that it is 11 by 17. I'm going to change the orientation to landscape and hit create. At this point, I'm going to I do have some swatches here that are open. I do have some color that are open. And I have my layers visible. So make sure you have that stuff because you're going to need it. You're also going to need a tool called the Pathfinder right here. Okay, so you're going to need all those things. For right now, we can collapse that. I'm going to set this inside here. And so we will have that, but I'm going to collapse that. We are going to need this right away. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say File, Place. I'm going to grab my template. And I'm going to click in the upper left-hand corner here. I'm going to zoom out a bit. And I want to use the Shift key so that we can slide this just a little bit inside to make sure that the whole thing prints when we want to print it. I'm going to go to my layer 1. I'm going to call this my template layer. And I'm going to click to the side of the label. And my layer options, I'm going to click template and say OK. Alright, so far so good. Now what I need to do is create another layer. I'm going to call this my color layer. And I'm also going to have another layer eventually where I'm going to put my text. The reason for this is that if you try to put text on top of a shape, often it'll try to put that text inside of that shape, which is useful, but not for this particular assignment. For this assignment, I'm just going to have people put the text on a separate layer. It'll make it much easier to deal with. So I'm going to go on to the color layer, and I want to create a circle, but I want that circle to be in a very specific spot. So I'm going to go to my View menu. I want my rulers. Command R is the shortcut, or you can go to Rulers, Show Rulers, right there. I'm going to drag a ruler from the vertical ruler area. You actually click inside the ruler. Now I'm going to go to my horizontal ruler, which is at the top, and I'm going to click and drag down. Then I don't want these guides to be paths, so I want to make sure that I lock my guides. These may have already been locked. So if they were unlocked, I could move them around and they could actually be selected. I don't want them to be selected, so I'm going to go to View, Guides, Lock Guides. Now I'm going to I want a perfect circle, so I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. It's underneath the rectangle tool. And if I click in the very middle, you'll see that it draws from that edge. But to draw from the middle, I'm going to add the Option key with my left hand, my first finger of my left hand. Now it'll draw from the middle. And as my students know, if you hold the Shift key, that'll constrain it to being a perfect symmetrical shape. So I'm going to pull that out to here, to the edge. That looks great. The default when you're doing this could be that it's no fill and no stroke, which won't be very good because if you click off of it, you can't see it. We want to make sure that we put a stroke on that. So I'm just going to click there. All right, now we have a stroke on that, so we can see it. Excuse me. I'm going to show that template one more time. This time I just want to draw a straight line. So if all you want to do is straight line, it's better to use the line segment tool because that's all it does is draw straight lines. It does have other tools underneath it. For right now, we're just going to deal with the line segment. You want to start your line past the edge of your circle. So I'm just going to go past the edge here, and I'm going to pull it down past the edge down here. And right now that looks pretty good. With my black arrow, I could move this around if you don't get it right in the spot. You should be able to see the middle of that line. Looks like a little red dot right there. We want to put that right over where those crosshairs are. So I'll zoom up on that so you can see that. Okay, so that's a good placement. Now what we want to do is we want to use our rotate tool to make the rest of these lines. So that way we can make it very specific. Alright, so now I'm going to click on the rotate tool. It's right there. Right now it's defaulting to the middle of that line, and since I moved the middle of the line to the crosshairs, it's in the right spot. If it's not, you can always click into the right spot. Next step, I'm going to double click the rotate tool, and the default was probably 0-degree angle. We figured out through the use of advanced math, no, it's not really advanced math, we know that 360 circle is 360 degrees around, and we know that this has 12 slices. So we're going to divide 360 by 12, that left 30. So we're going to type in 30 degrees, and don't click OK, we're going to click copy. Now what we want to do is redo that last thing that we did. So we're going to use the duplicate key. Command D is the duplicate key. Or transform again. I call it the duplicate key just because it's D. So I'm going to do Command D again, again, and again. Now if I hide that layer or hide the template, you can see that I have this like wheel with these spokes going out. What I want to do next is select all of those objects with my black arrow, the lines and the circle, and I have my Pathfinder open. Again, if you don't have that open, you can go to Window, Pathfinder, and I'm going to use this Pathfinder on the bottom left that's called Divide. When I click that, it divides that based on those paths. Wherever those lines crossed over, it's going to cut. So now I have 12 slices. I'm going to fill those slices with white. Let me show you. I'm going to show the template. So now I'm going to have this white. The reason for this is now I can select inside here. If there's no fill, then I can't select inside. I'd have to select on the line, and I want to be able to select, just make it easier to select. So I'm going to select this entire object. So this is a grouped object. If I move the whole thing over so I can see my color wheel, you can see it moves as a whole group. If I double click, now I can select the individual slices of this pie. So if I want yellow, I can take my CMYK slider and just slide it all the way over. I have yellow. If I want green, I could say I want all that yellow, and then I'm going to pull the cyan slider and make a yellow-green. If I just want plain green, then I can have 100% yellow, 100% green, and that gives me green. The rest of this you should be able to figure out. Don't forget, if we can go back to my main layer, so getting out of isolation mode, I can select this as one group. And once you get your completed color wheel spectrum done, then what you're going to do is make a copy of it by holding the Option key. Excuse me. By holding the Option key and then holding the Shift key, make it much smaller, like this. And then now you have an object. You know, the hue would be done because hue is all the colors. And then you can make copies of those that you can modify. And then if I wanted to, I could actually select these three. You can see that. Hold the Option key, slide those over, do Command D again. Now I'm going to hide my template. You can see what I've created so far. For the rest of it, to change your colors, I think you guys can figure that out. And also, to be able to put the text on, just go ahead and use the text tool. You do not have to create type boxes. You can just simply click and type on the text layer. So for this case, I would just click and say primary. Might want to make it a little bit bigger. Let's see what we got here. Myriad is fine. You can just keep it that. So maybe 24 point for those. And again, that's pretty self-explanatory. Just go ahead and make sure everything is labeled. Also, I would like you to put your name up at the top and save it before you print it out. Okay? So thank you, and have a nice day.